I'm in Carmel by the Sea, which is next to Monterey. I just visited the mission. Weather is weird. It's suddenly chilly and cloudy all the time. So you can see that there's some blue sky behind the clouds, but it's about 5 o'clock and we're not gonna see that sky today. My next move, I don't know. There's one more mission close here in Salinas, so that's the next step. But I have to see where to spend the night. Tomorrow I have a RV park reserved, 1,000 trails. I'm wondering, should I go to Monterey? It's a pretty town if you're not staying there and visiting, and maybe go to, or there's a jazz festival. When's the Monterey Jazz Festival? I don't know. But Monterey is famous for Summer of Love and concert. Same thing was at the Big Sur. There was a family living in Big Sur, and they have folk festival in their backyard. They're by the pool. And in 1967, the Summer of Love, there was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young played there by the pool. You can find the video of that. It's really cool setup. Joan Baez was there, some gospel group, and other folkies. All my interest for absolutely everything is connected to rock music and the history, and I'm obsessed. So sorry if I bother you with that little info that you didn't know so far. Okay, so I'm moving, don't know where, but going towards Salinas. So that's all I can tell you. That's John Steinbeck country. Maybe I'll visit his home. I'm on the way to Salinas, and this ride just showed me that no matter where you go in California, you have to admit California is the most pretty country in the world. What you see here, I mean, desert, mountains, snow, ocean, everything in one state. That doesn't build. I mentioned earlier the festival, the folk festival at the Big Sur. That was like a private family gig. They invite friends, not that many public. In the video from that festival, you can find some songs on YouTube. It's Big Sur 1967. I noticed that they have a bass player, and it looked to me like a girl. I was even not sure, is it black or white person, but it looked to me like a girl, very young. Then I noticed that same bass player on one TV show. Well, I did research, so you don't have to do it, and I'll tell you. It's actually not a girl, it's a young guy, 15-year-old. 15-year-old playing bass for Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. The story is like this. Neil Young, when he left Toronto, went to Detroit. He was there in a funk band for like a couple of years, playing in a funk band with Rick James. This kid is a nephew of Rick James. They kind of all together went to LA, and there, when the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young was formed for a gig, they needed a bass player. Something happened with their regular guy, or they fired him. Neil Young said, I have a bass player. So I think he and Stephen Stills, I don't know the story, went to the house where Rick James lived. And Rick James was a bass player. But it's known that Rick James is really bad player. I mean, he's just holding the guitar. He's really not a good bass player. He's more a showman. So they knock on a door, and this kid opens the door. There's Neil Young and some other guys. and he goes, "Rick, there's people for you." Neil Young said, "Nope, we came for you, not for Rick." So they needed a bass player, and I don't know, it's not defined, it's not written anywhere. What did Neil Young see and know about this kid? 15-year-old nephew or cousin of Rick James. So he insisted for kid to play with them. Steven Stills usually opposed everything Neil Young wants, but then Neil Young just blackmails them. He says, "Just, I'm not gonna play with you. So if kid doesn't play, I'm not playing." And that's how the kid got the gig. Later, I forgot his name. I have to find it on Wikipedia. Later, he had some career. Didn't play long with them, but he had a career on his own. So that's the story about how I wondered, how can Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young have a female bass player? 15-year-old kid. So here's a little correction to the whole story. I don't know how I made a mistake, or maybe I heard different story about this. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm losing it. But if you look on Wikipedia, the guy's name is Greg Reeves, and he was really, really young. They say that he was actually 12 when he was a studio musician for at the Motown Records, and he recorded on Temptations song Cloud 9, on a last song of Diana Ross and Supremes, and he was with Rick James in LA when they came really to pick him up. But it was not Neil Young and Steven Stills, like I said, it's the other two guys, David Crosby and Graham Nash. I mean, that's what Wikipedia said. So I don't know my story. Did I hear something else somewhere, or I just made it up? But basically, not even the kid opened the door. Rick James opened the door, and he went out and called him. He said, "There's a jam session." He asked him, "So are you going?" He said, Rick James said, "No, they're here for you, not for me." So they pick him up, and he said he never went back to that place. That he even wonders how did David Crosby and Graham Nash even know the address where they live? But that must be through Neil Young, because he was buddy with Rick James from the old days. So then Graham Reeves stayed and played with Crosby, Stills, Nash, Young for 2 years, and then got fired by Steven Stills, who said he's a Apache witch doctor and that he's messing with his mind or something like that. Also, looks like that kid was really talented, and he could play that bass, but he was unpredictable what he's doing, and Steven Stills, as guitarist, needs bass player to keep the same rhythm all the time. A kid goes on some improvisation or something, so that was bothering Steven Stills, and he kicked him out of the band. So that's just a little correction. I don't know, or maybe I read that same Wikipedia and then I forgot, because my brain is not the same anymore. But interesting. But look at the picture. The kid looks like a girl. It's just that baby face, and that green dress. It looks like some girly skirt. I don't know. Don't blame me.